think the physical changes all happened last year, right? We all saw the hair, the chain, the baggy shirts. We've seen this over the years with his hobbies. He's picked up mixed martial arts and other
The
things.
really
But we're
expensive
seeing it
watch.
really expensive watches, watch collecting, yes. So, but we're seeing it translate to the business here in a really big way. The last couple weeks, as you've both followed, tons of changes at Meta around speech policies, around fact checking. They added a board member, Dana White, the CEO of the UFC, who is a huge outspoken Trump ally, right? A lot of these changes are considered sort of leaning in towards the MAGA movement, leaning in towards Donald Trump and his new administration. And what I wrote about, this morning in our newsletter is that there might be a business reason for Mark Zuckerberg to do this thing, but he's someone who's always been really, really interested in his legacy, who's been sort of protective of his legacy. And I, as someone who's followed him for a long time, find it very interesting that someone who cares so much about how they're viewed would, so publicly tie himself to a president who's as unpredictable as President Trump. And so for me, I think watching this transformation has been sort of shocking, not just about what the company is doing, but what it means for Mark Zuckerberg moving forward as well.
I mean, to be fair, isn't this, I don't know, help me out here. And maybe it's because it's, a tech mega giant. But I mean, when politics shift, you do see companies think about, whether it's their lobbyists or their internal global affairs people change to make sure that, they're going to have maybe a friendlier relationship with the folks in Washington.
Totally. And I think some of this is that, right? And actually someone at the company yesterday made that point to me. They were like, hey, there's a difference between tying yourself to someone kind of personally and just trying to make a smart business decision by, doing what you can to work with the administration. And in some cases, I would agree, but I actually think Mark Zuckerberg has gone out of his way to do more of the former, right? Which is showing up at Mar-a-Lago twice. He's going to be on stage at the inauguration. He's co-hosting a black tie reception for Trump in DC on Inauguration Day, right? These are things that he does not have to do, that Meta does not have to do, and certainly not put him at the forefront, but they're choosing to do that. And so for me, I think given Trump's history, given what we saw from him over his first 4 years, what we know about how he's handled things like, losing the 2020 election, and yet still seeing Mark Zuckerberg put himself personally in those positions, I think feels different than simply saying, hey, we're just trying to make a good business decision by being supportive of this incoming administration.
So are we cynics about this in the fact that it's like very clear and blatant, or is this actually personally something that he is feeling, that he's undergoing, that it's a change in the way that he thinks about content moderation, a change in the way he thinks about politics? Is he moving right like much of the country?
I think it's a mixture of both. Yeah. I don't think anyone could tell you who's not Mark Zuckerberg exactly where he falls on that spectrum. I don't think this is purely a business strategy, right? I think he probably aligns more with some of the stuff that Trump talks about, especially I think as it comes to speech, right? As we've seen over these last couple of weeks, like some real sort of anger about how the company handled things over the last 4 years, anger about how they dealt with the Biden administration around COVID and taking stuff down related to COVID misinfo. So I think some of that is ideological, and that's real, and that's perhaps a change of heart for Mark Zuckerberg over time. But again, I do think an element of this is also just him trying to be a savvy business guy, right? And knowing that, hey, it is better for me, it is better for Meta if I'm have a strong relationship with this incoming administration. And so I think for me, it's probably a mixture of a bunch of different things, those two probably being the top of the list.